Just want to say before we start Polar Opposites here today, just our thoughts go out to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or better known as UNLV, the people that passed away during the school shooting that happened just a few days ago. Polar Opposites, the Outrage Inc., Cajun, myself, Spencer, and Alain all have our thoughts and our remembrance to those people and anyone affected by the shooting that happened down in Las Vegas. Just wanted to give a quick blurb before we start the Thursday technically edition of Polar Opposites. Thank you.
It's that time. Everything and anything basketball, presented by The Outrage. With Kajan Thiruthanikasalam and host Spencer Byers, this is Polar Opposites.
And welcome, everyone. Thursday edition coming out, I think, Friday morning-ish of Polar Opposites. Spencer Byers, Kajan Thiruthanikasalam, and Cage, if you want to give your, if you want to say something about UNLV, here's your chance.
It's just heartbreaking. Just seeing this continue to happen in the States. And my heart goes out to the people at UNLV, to the people that died, their families, and to just anyone who had to deal with being in the area when that happened. A lot of people are and will be traumatized by this for the rest of their lives. And going to an educational institution, this shouldn't be the normal to deal with mass shootings. Fortunately, in the States, that's the case. And you hit it on the nail, Spence. It's senseless. And my heart goes out to everybody that was affected by this.
I couldn't agree more and echo more what you said, Cage. That's why I want to start off the show like that, just so we acknowledge it, we know what happened, we are thinking about those out in Nevada that have been affected, those around the country, those around, say, the world that have been affected by it, if any of their loved ones are out abroad, that have now been affected by the three people that have passed away due to the shooting at UNLV, better known as the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. But not to, again, we talked about it a couple of times on the show, Kate, dwelling on the negative as much as it needs to be mentioned and talked about. We're not going to focus on those poor lives that were lost. We're going to move on to an actual really positive story. And it wasn't actually found out until halfway through, I believe, Cage, it was the Knicks quarterfinal where they lost to the Bucks. I went 0 for 4, by the way, before we continue with Mitchell Robinson. I went 0 for 4 in the in-season tournament, so I couldn't have gone worse. You went 2 for 2, obviously, as you picked the two East. You picked the Eastern Final. I picked the I picked neither. So you're a little better than me, but not by much.
Got the West completely wrong, but then again, we both picked the same team.
Yeah.
I was dead on with the East. Also, go Pacers.
Go Pacers. I agree with you. As much as they beat the Celtics, go Pacers, as they are now through to the final, as well as the Los Angeles Lakers are through to the final after crushing the poor New Orleans Pelicans. But we'll get into the in-season tournament here in a sec. But before we move into that, back to Mitchell Robinson. During the quarterfinal between the Bucks and the Knicks, a story got brought up, and it was his high school coach, Butch Stockton, who is now staying in New York with Mitchell Robinson. Again, this was his high school basketball coach for the season after his wife passed away. So Butch's wife was in the hospital for an extended period of time. I want to say it was a year, but without knowing the exact number, it was an extended period of time. Mitchell Robinson went every day, when as a rounder, got really close to Miss Stockton and Mr. Stockton. And now, after she's gone, Mitchell said, hey, there's nothing for you in Louisiana where they were. I'll say where they live, where they were from. He said, come to me to New York, and I'll say basically enjoy living again, and that's what's happened. So, Coach Stockton's now with his former protege, his former, his former athlete, Mitchell Robinson, and what a heartwarming story. Not only that, Mitchell hung out with, Miss Stockton, pardon me, and got close with both his former coach and his now late wife. Now to bring Butch in and I don't really know how else to articulate it other than by just saying, "Hey, coach, you did so much for me. Let me, help you." It is such a nice story, and I came across it. I want to say it was yesterday during going through my Instagram reels, which I think I'm better than y'all who go on TikTok. I know I am an elitist in some respects. So, it's such a nice story, Cage, and it's something that I really hope gets more attention than I feel like it's getting because it is
Mhm.
such a great story. And again, big ups obviously Mitchell Robinson for doing this because he didn't have to, but he's choosing to, and that's the best part.
It warmed my heart and put a smile to my face when I saw the story.
It warmed that cold Grinch heart, eh, Cage?
I've never had a cold Grinch heart though, but that's beside the point. It says that Mitchell Robinson visited Dawn Robinson every day when she was in the hospital, and uh, Dawn and Butch Stockton were together for 31 years. So losing your partner and your loved one like that, like in any sort of circumstance, like after spending life for as long as they did, can be hard on a person. And credit Mitchell Robinson, he really formed a connection with his high school coach and his wife. Um, and lent out an olive branch. A lot of athletes, a lot of former players don't do that. And and when I saw the story, I'm like, finally, a welcome change. Because all we hear is negative stories, but something heartwarming, something positive. Finally. And according to what Butch Stockton said, because this was like during like a sideline interview, um, Mitchell Robinson proposed this idea to Butch Stockton at his wife's funeral. He coached the next big man at Chalmette High School in Louisiana, and but Stockton told the silent reporter that Robinson told him, "Coach, no reason to stay down here in Louisiana. You come to New York with me and enjoy yourself and get your mind back straight because you know how much you loved your wife." And he mentioned after that, it's just been a great situation. And Robinson told reporters after the game that Stockton's a great guy and like he helped him get to where he's at. And he said his coach will be living with him for the rest of the year. And man, I'm lost for words. I'm lost for words, Spence, because it's rare somebody has as big of a heart as Mitchell Robinson does to do what he just did, to do what he's doing right now. And there's stories like this. I'm like, maybe hope in humanity, maybe.
Maybe, but again, just what what an action, what a decision by Mitchell Robinson. And it's one of those things where I hate that it needs to be broadcasted because sometimes you try to just do something nice for somebody and you don't think about it as like I'm doing a good deed. And I know Mitchell Robinson's not doing this because he wants the publicity. Obviously, I would never accuse him of that. But sometimes it is nice to hear about these types of stories because it shows you something about Mitchell Robinson, shows you the character he's got, shows you what kind of person he is. It shows you all of the things you want to know about a kid, about a guy, as an athlete or as a human being.
Exactly.
Same thing with giving to charity and all the other great things you can do, as an athlete or as a person in the media eye, if you will. And that's the best part is Mitchell Robinson didn't do this for publicity. We're what 3 months into the year now and no one knew. It's just coming out now over the last week
Because
that
his
this
high school
happened.
coach finally spoke out about it.
Yeah, like this is not something that like just happened, right? It's not like a couple weeks after it's happened. This has been a thing and now he's getting credit for it, and that's what I love about it. That's what I would say my favorite part about this is that it's already happened and it's been happening, and now he's getting credit for it. I'll say long after his decision was made. It's not like a week after it happened, and now it's going to be circled through the media for the next 5 months about the coach is still staying with them, whatever. Trying to like keep tabs on it, right? To see if it really is a publicity stunt. You can tell it's not. Like it's just instant. Like he's been there for like the last God knows the last couple months probably in New York, hanging out with Mitchell Robinson and what have you. So, we just want to start off the show with a positive because again, we talked about on this show that the mass majority of media, especially mainstream media, as much as I hate that word too, to be honest with you, they like to pound on the negative and why guys aren't performing well and what isn't going right. We want to talk about something and start off the show, especially after what happened at UNLV. Something that was very positive. And you can't get more positive than Mitch Robinson and his former head coach in high school.
For real.
And to some more positives, Cage, this time on the women's side of the bracket, as of college basketball. Caitlin Clark of the Iowa Hawkeyes, currently, if I am not mistaken, Cage, I quickly take a look at the AP poll, 4th in the nation are the Hawkeyes. Caitlin Clark is the first player ever, D1, in men's or women's basketball to reach 3,000 career points, 750 career assists, and 750 career rebounds, and she still got, what, like 20, 25 games left of her senior year? She still has games to extend this record and continue to pile up the accolades of, because at this point, Cage, you'd think with how many games left Iowa's got, they've only played 9 this year, you play about 30 to 35 in a college season. She's going to hit easy 800 assists, easy 800 rebounds. I'm not sure if the points can get to 3,500, but it could. So who knows
She very well can.
how far she could kind of push this record to now make the next girl or guy, in fairness, but more likely girl with the way college basketball for the men's pool is broken up with the best athletes only having to play 1 year and then, going to the NBA.
Yeah.
So it'd be most likely a woman would break this record or reach this milestone again if it ever happens again. But again, it's just showing, Cage, how much better the women's game is getting.
It really is. And to do what Caitlin Clark has done, 3K points, 750 rebounds, and 750 assists, and nobody else on the D1 side, men's or women's, have done it ever. That's remarkable in itself. And if she really wants to, she's eligible to come back next season. Although with her being projected as the #1 draft pick, the sensible thing would just to be to declare for the draft. But I believe the current era record holder is, I want to say, Kelsey Plum. But it's not far-fetched to say she could pass Kelsey Plum with the way she's with the way her career has gone. She really has put Iowa on the map more than a lot more. And the legend of Caitlin Clark is just going to continue to grow. And man, if she can lead this Iowa team to like a national title with competition just as heated now, South Carolina still in the picture, LSU, UConn, UCLA, there's a lot of stiff competition for that national title. If she can not only break the current era record for most points in a career in an NCAA career, but also lead Iowa to a national title, she's forever gonna live on in folklore in women's basketball history, at least in women's NCAA basketball history, and that's without mentioning her future WNBA career. So she's only reaching her. She's got a whole nother stratosphere to reach, as scary as that sounds.
Now, Cage,
Or
I gotta be honest with you here. It's really funny to hear you say Iowa instead of Iowa. I know that's your Canadian,
fair enough.
but anyway, I will mention now. Caitlin Clark, from a quick count, she's about 14th right now on the list for most points ever. She's one of, I think, 15 players to ever hit 3,000 points. She's the only active player on the list that has a chance to reach it. You mentioned Kelsey Plum right now is the leader all time in points total. She had 3,527 points in her college career at Washington. In her 4 years, she averaged 25.4 points per game in her time with the Huskies. Caitlin Clark, who has played at this point in her NCAA career 29 less games than Kelsey Plum. She played 110. Kelsey Plum ended at 139. Caitlin Clark is averaging 27.4 points per game, 2 points more than Kelsey Plum did in college. So you would expect that Caitlin Clark will probably break it, if not get damn close, kids. She would, I would say, gets to 3,500, which is basically 500 points away. But again, it's really hard to predict those type of things. But it's just, again, it will add to the legacy, it will add to the mystique of Caitlin Clark. The closer, the higher she climbs on the list. Because looking at some of these names, Cage, of former players who have had 3,000 points in the college game. Del Don from Delaware, at Delaware, had 3,000 points. Elena. Brittany Griner, 4th on the list. Kelsey Plum, 1st on the list. Kelsey Mitchell, 2nd on the list. Current Indiana Fever, who had 18 points per game. I'll say last season, I believe, but in her last season with the Fever. There's a lot of really talented players that are above her right now, and Caitlin Clark's going to surpass all of them, you'd think, just about. Kelsey Plum's probably the only one you'd think she may not be able to catch right now. But she still has that chance. She is a very good chance, I'd even say, to be able to be the all-time leader in points total. And as you mentioned, she in all honesty, will probably also be the first overall pick
Mhm.
when she eventually declares, when she does declare for the NBA draft.
Yeah. Like the legend of Caitlin Clark is going to continue to grow like as if it hasn't right now.
And now we will move on from Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes, who haven't actually played too recently. They were able to win. Is that Wednesday? They won just a couple nights ago. Wednesday night, they were able to get a win over their in-state rival Iowa State over the Cyclones. Caitlin Clark had the 35, which includes her points to get over 3,000. No ranked teams have lost since we were last here that I have seen. So at least on the women's bracket. The men's bracket, Cage, though, continues to have some shakeups. We will get to the in-season tournament that happened to us just a couple hours, literally 2 hours ago did it finish. But some other big upsets going around the NCAA since we last spoke. The Illini, Illinois upset FAU. Florida Atlantic University get their second loss of the year, 98-89 win for the Illinois school. You've also got Wisconsin. We talked about having to play Michigan State in their upcoming game. They beat Michigan State 70-57, giving the Spartans their fourth loss of the season. Again, the Spartans were a preseason number 3 team in the nation, and now they're unranked with 4 losses. And I'm not going to say they lost their opening night to James Madison, but I will fix my mistake. They're not third. They were fourth preseason team in the nation before their loss to James Madison, who are now in the top 25, are the very low D1 school.
Mhm.
But it's gonna be interesting to see if Izzo's men ever get re-ranked, the Spartans, or if they stay unranked and maybe were miscategorized going into the year. SDSU, San Diego State University, lose their first game after being ranked in the top 25 at 25th to Grand Canyon 79-73. And then the big one, Tuesday night, the Yukon Huskies beat the North Carolina Tar Heels 87-76, that being at MSG. And then Wednesday night, Marquette blow out the Longhorns. The number 8 Golden Eagles beat Texas 86-65. That was 8 versus 12. And that is a 19-point win. Nope, lie, 21-point win. A -2, not +2, for the Golden Eagles and Shaka Smart against his former club in the Texas Longhorns. So another big win. Yeah, apparently he did. And again, I'm not a big fan of Shaka Smart. He's kind of proven me wrong this year with those Golden Eagles in Marquette, with how good they've been in recent weeks, especially against ranked opponents.
Mhm.
And I will mention after the 6th of December, which was Wednesday, we're recording this technically Thursday night / Friday morning, depending on what side of the fence you're on. The next ranked games aren't till Saturday when the Illini take on Tennessee, Purdue take on Alabama here in Canada. Zach Edey, his homecoming. Wisconsin play number 1 Arizona. Another massive game, and that one is in Tucson. So a lot of big games still to come. That's on Saturday. So do stay tuned for some more great men's college basketball.
Well,
Just
Wisconsin's taking on Arizona.
Yeah, in Arizona. That's going to be a real tough game there for the Badgers.
And then Clemson taking on TCU. Emmanuel Miller making his return as well in Toronto.
And I will mention also, Cage, on the women's side, it won't be Saturday this week. It'll be Sunday night. Sunday, but Sunday night as well. UCLA number 2 in the nation take on number 20 Florida State. Number 25 Penn State take on their Big Ten rivals, Ohio State 25 versus 12. Penn State 25, Ohio State 12. UCLA 2, Florida State 20. Both those are midday. Then at 2:30, the Gamecocks of South Carolina take on Utah. That's number 1 versus number 11. And then you've got the Yukon Huskies continuing their rather tough out of conference schedule. They take on the North Carolina Tar Heels, number 17 Yukon versus number 24 North Carolina. And that will be the last ranked on ranked game Sunday, December 10th. So again, a lot of really big games going on in the NCAA this coming weekend. So if you're not working afternoons like me and want to have a chance to watch any of those great games, I would highly recommend to, if you haven't watched any college basketball recently, or if you're not a big fan of basketball, but you want to start, dabbling in it, college ball is where you start. And there's some great games going on this weekend if you want to start watching. But anyway, we will now move on to the in-season tourney. The Indiana Pacers booked their spot in the final, winning 128-119 over the Milwaukee Bucks. Tyrese Halliburton had 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 15 assists in the win over the Bucks, and had a little bit of fun with Damian Lillard doing the Dame Time celebration after the Pacers upset the Bucks cage. I will start with the Halliburton taunt, if you will, depending on who you are, will depend on how you see it. If it's just a mocking, or if it's a taunt, or if it's just Halliburton having some personality. Where do you sit on that spectrum, Cage, of Halliburton's, I'll say, taunt of the Dame Time celebration?
I'm all for it. Like, it's all in fun and celebration, and the way he's been playing, he's earned the right to trash talk. He's earned the right to celebrate. Like, he's balling. And you forgot to mention this, Spence. And this is a big stat because it speaks to how great he is as a point guard and how much of an exceptional game manager he is. His past 2 games, he had 13 assists against Boston. He had 15 assists in the semis against Milwaukee. 28 assists, no turnovers. You realize how rare that is to not turn the ball over and have that many assists and handle the ball as much as he does? And shoot efficiently at the same time, too? Like, we've got a lot of great point guards in the NBA, but I don't know. Like, you could argue he might be the best. He might be playing like the best point guard in the NBA. I know that might be a hot take, but the way he's led this Pacers team, the way he's been the driving force of this Pacers team, and this Pacers team is playing for each other. They've been playing for each other all season, and they got a ton of incentive to play for this in-season tournament because they want respect, and the second part, given that there's a lot of like guys who are on prove-it deals or rookie deals, that money coming from the in-season tournament is going to be pretty nice for them. But Indiana showing on the national stage, and Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner, who's been like the mainstay of that Pacers team, going back from the PG days and the Sabonis days, they're proving that they're going to be one tough team to beat come playoff time, and that you gotta put some respect on their name. Now, in terms of like the Lillard taunt or whatever you want to call it, Lillard didn't even have a problem with it too. It's like, hey, like he said, if you can dish it, you gotta expect to take it. Now the humble part is like you gotta be careful, like when like because I thought it was just like he was telling him to be humble, but no, it was just pretty much the media just baiting. And basically Lillard saying that like you gotta stay calm, you gotta stay humble, like in terms of in general, because like life can come at you fast. And he was talking based off of experience, so I don't really see that as a taunt. I don't think even Lillard had a problem with it. It's all in the front of gamesmanship, and at the end of the day, during that game, Halliburton had the last laugh.
Now, Cage, I don't want to undersell Tyrese Halliburton now. So now I'm going to piggyback off what you said. The Pacers have played 17 games this season. They will play 18 games, and the finals of the in-season tournament will not be included in the 82-game season the NBA requires. So they'll technically play an 83-game schedule, will the Indiana Pacers. So we'll see what Halliburton's stats look like with that extra game, or how they include those stats, if they even do, for that 83rd game, quote unquote, because it won't count to the schedule.
Mhm.
But I will say, again, picking back off what you said, in the 17 games Tyrese Halliburton has played, 5 of those games he's had less than 10 assists. Less than double digits.
That's
5 out of
insane.
17. He's averaging 11.9 assists per game, the most in the NBA. One of 2 players to average over double-digit assists. The other guy is Trae Young, who's averaging 10.6 assists this season. Nikola Jokic just outside at 9.8 assists per game. But again, Halliburton well above both of them at almost 12 a game. He's also averaging 29.5 points per game on, as you mentioned, rather efficient shooting. He's shooting 52% from the field, 44% from 3, if not 44.7, so basically 45% from 3. His free throw percentage is 88%, so close to that 50, 40, 90 club is Tyrese Halliburton. He's also averaging 4 rebounds a game, which is enough. You know, you don't need to be averaging a triple-double, but 4 rebounds is nice from a guy who's 6'5" is Tyrese Halliburton. And I want to go back, because some people may not remember, some people may forget. Tyrese Halliburton was not drafted by the Indiana Pacers. He was drafted 12th overall by the Sacramento Kings, when the Sacramento Kings were one of the worst run organizations in basketball. He was traded to the Indiana Pacers with Buddy Hield and Tristan Thompson, might I add, to Indiana from Sacramento for Domantas Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and a 2023 second-round pick. Now, obviously, I would say Indiana won that trade because I think Tyrese Halliburton is a great player and could be a top 5 or 10 player in the league. He may already be, as you mentioned, Kate, with being the best point guard in the league right now.
I think this
But he
season he's
easily
played.
could be.
I think this season he's played like the best point guard in the NBA, because it's one thing to lead the league in assists, but to do that without turning the ball over as much, because Trae Young's got 10.6 assists, but I bet you he might have over 2 turnovers. Tyrese Halliburton does not turn over the ball as often, as evidenced by those last 2 games in which 28 assists, no turnovers.
Halliburton averages 2.4 turnovers per game at his almost 12 assists per game. Trae Young averages 10.6 assists, turns the ball over 3.8 times a game. So almost 4 turnovers a game for Trae Young. So almost not double turnovers, but about 1.5 extra turnovers. So a half extra. So times a half, basically.
Mhm.
I guess 1.5 times technically, but regardless of the mathematical equation. But I want to mention that even with Sacramento giving up, you'd say the best player in the trade at this point in Halliburton, Sacramento doesn't even lose the trade where they lose Halliburton, because Domantas Sabonis is a really good player. He's just not Tyrese
It's
Halliburton.
it's the rare win-win trade from both teams. Sacramento got the big that they needed to sort of catapult them to a different level, and Indiana got their point guard for the next at least 15 years. Their franchise player for the next 15 years. And I think this was like the best case scenario for Tyrese Halliburton, because he was good in Sacramento, but with De'Aaron Fox being there, his growth was going to be stunted. But now with Indiana, that's his team, and he's being unleashed, and look at the results. He's passing every single test that's been in front of him with flying colors.
That you are right. So again, Indiana into the final. They're playing, as I mentioned earlier, the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James and the Lakers won 133 to 89 over the New Orleans Pelicans earlier today / yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this, or I guess I should just say Thursday.
Yeah.
On Thursday. And that will mean the Lakers will face off against the Indiana Pacers in the final. And LeBron James led the way for the Lakers with 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists. He had 30 points in 22 minutes of play, did LeBron James. He shot 75% from the field, perfect from the three-point line, perfect from the free throw line. So borderline perfection for King James. A lot of other guys in double digits. Anthony Davis had 16 points, 15 rebounds. D'Angelo Russell, Austin
14.
Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and I don't even want to pronounce Prince's first name, but
Torian
what does
Prince.
that count? Torian Prince also had double digits in the win for Los Angeles in the end blowout of the New Orleans Pelicans. So Cage, dominant win for the Lakers. Do you think that's a statement by the Lakers trying to say, "Hey, we're gonna be, we're coming to win it. We're not here to get second place," kind of thing, by the former champs of during the bubble years. So former champs of what, 2 years ago?
It's safe to say that was a statement from the Lakers, and that we're not here for second. We're here to win it all. Because if that was the case, they'd be out a long time ago. If they weren't taking it as seriously, they would have been out, and they wouldn't have taken these games as seriously. Um, but
There's a different sort of vigor and focus.
from the Lakers in these in-season tournament games. Um, Obviously there was a controversy between the Lakers and the Suns. Should a timeout have been called? Um, besides the point there, they left no doubt in this one against the Pelicans, and New Orleans, especially in that third quarter, it was 43-17 for the Lakers. Just had no answer. And it wasn't just LeBron just hitting threes and all. He drew 3 charges in that game as well. Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, neither of them could really get anything going. I don't think anybody on the Pelicans really got anything going, save for maybe Trey Murphy the third at the end. But Lakers were stifling defensively and got everything that they wanted offensively, and you put both of those together, you got a pretty good chance of blowing out a team. And man, 30 points in 22 minutes on 12 shots, perfect from the 3-point line, perfect from the free throw line. Hey man, he said it. He said it. He said it himself. He's trying to give Father Time one loss, and right now, LeBron's winning that battle against Father Time. And you
Now,
and before 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 you get into it, I know there's a lot of detractors and naysayers of LeBron. I happen to be one of them. But you gotta enjoy these good. I ain't enough of a detractor and naysayer to discount his greatness. You gotta enjoy his greatness while he's here, because I don't think we're gonna see something like this ever again.
all I gotta say, Cage, is as we talked about last episode, you are a bona fide, certified, stamp the label on it, hater, is Cage and Thiruthanikasalam. But I also want to mention before I completely move off of that trade between the Pacers and the Kings, that Halliburton goes to the Pacers, Sabonis goes to the Kings, a 2023 second round pick went also to the Kings. That became Jordan Walsh, currently the Boston Celtics. The draft pick that was obviously traded to the Celtics, that they drafted or acquired the draft rights of Jordan Walsh. So thanks to the Indiana Pacers, Jordan Walsh, who hasn't played a whole lot for the Celtics, but is seen as a guy who could help the Celtics down the line, is on the team. So thank you, Indiana. Appreciate it. Appreciate the help. And obviously Sacramento for giving us the basically, I'll say free draft pick, but whatever the actual draft day trades end up looking like, because they always seem to be kind of wish-washy with the way they do draft day trades in the NBA, in my opinion. But regardless, with that, as you mentioned, Cage, the Pacers went out play the Lakers. Who do you got? Now, your final was the Indiana Pacers versus the Sacramento Kings,
It was
with
Bucks.
Sacramento.
It was the Bucks versus the Kings and Sacramento winning
Oh,
it. So
I thought you had Indiana making it to the final. But I know you had Sacramento winning.
mhm.
I obviously went 0 for 4, so my final doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
honestly, like both of our championship picks got eliminated in the quarters, so we're on the same boat.
Same day. Same day. I was the Celtics, you were the Kings. Both get eliminated same day. Same day. So, Cage, who do you got? Pacers, Lakers, final on Saturday, December 9th. So technically tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the day we post this. Who do you got?
My heart's telling me the Pacers, but my brain's telling me the Lakers. I've learned not to discount the Pacers, especially after what they showed against the Bucks. But the Lakers right now are in a different mindset. And truth be told, I think this game is going to be closer than people think. I don't think the Lakers are going to run roughshod over the Pacers. But I do think they're going to win this in-season tournament championship. As much as I do want the Pacers to win, because that would be so sweet to see a young team like Indiana prove themselves on this big of a stage and win it all, win the inaugural in-season tournament, and have Tyrese Halliburton lead the charge. Because it isn't just Halliburton too. You gotta think about it. We only think of Halliburton as a big name there, but there's guys that are trying to prove it. Miles Turner being the mainstay from those earlier Pacers teams. And then you got Obi Toppin, who's sort of had a resurgence after a couple of rocky years in New York, playing behind Julius Randle. Then you got Benedict Mathurin. You got Buddy Hield, who moved into the starting lineup and he's found something. You got Bruce Brown, who's always seemed to be take over that Swiss Army knife role for any team that he's on, whether it was Brooklyn, whether it was Denver when he won the NBA title with them, and now with this young Pacers team. But it isn't just those five. You got T.J. McConnell, the ever so steady backup point guard. You got Andrew Nembhard, another Canadian. Aaron Nesmith, a former Boston Celtic, who played some exceptional defense on Giannis for stretches of that game. Then you got Isaiah Jackson, who can spell backup center minutes. Jalen Smith played some good minutes too before he ended up getting hurt. There's a lot of talent on that Pacers team. That's just looking to quiet the doubters and the naysayers. But with that being said, the Lakers right now are a well-oiled machine on both ends of the floor. And Indiana's shown up defensively at times when people haven't really expected it. I just can't see them stopping the Lakers. And sorry, Reggie Miller, you're not gonna like this Pacers team is not gonna get his revenge on this Lakers team and not get revenge on you from 2000. But I got the Lakers winning this one, but it's gonna be closer than people think.
Now, again, I am 0 for 4 in the in-season tournament. So we'll see if I jinx the team I pick. But I'm going for the hungry team. I'm going for the young team. I'm going for arguably the best offense in the NBA currently. I'm going for the Rick Carlisle-led, Tyrese Halliburton-led Indiana Pacers to beat LeBron James and the Lakers. Now, I love the storyline of LeBron James, arguably the best player ever, getting his hands on the first ever in-season tournament trophy. I am for that storyline. I wouldn't be mad if that was the outcome. But I just got a feeling about these Pacers, man. I said that I love my Celtics. I want them to win. I expect them to win. They didn't. But I like the Pacers. I want them to win too. And if the Celtics can't win, I wouldn't mind seeing them win either. And I think the Pacers are going to be able to do it. It's a great defense in Los Angeles versus a great offense in Indiana. Normally, you always pick the defensive team to win, but I just think there's so much talent on that Indiana team, as you mentioned, Cage, with all the names you went down, that it's going to be hard for the Lakers to stop them all. And one or two leaks are going to spring through, and somebody's going to take over. If it's Halliburton, if it's Turner, if it's Mathurin, if it's Brown, if it's Obi Toppin, my guy out of Dayton, somebody's going to have a good night on Indiana. You know
Buddy
he's going
Hield.
to have a good night on Buddy Hield. You know who has to have a good night on the Lakers if they want to win. You know who has to have a good night. Indiana's got 7, 8, 9 guys who could have a good night. TJ McConnell could have a good night. Andrew Nemhart could have a good night. You don't know who it's going to come from for the Pacers. You know where it has to come from the Lakers. And I think that unpredictability is what's going to propel the Pacers to their first taste of what to expect in Indiana over the coming years with guys like Halliburton, with guys like Toppin who are still really young, with guys like Andrew Nemhart, for example, with Benedict Mathurin, for example, even like Jarris
Walker.
Jarris Walker, pardon me. I kept thinking Wallace, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. But Jarris Walker, you're right. He's a rookie, has barely played this year at times. Another really young guy that's going to work his way, you'd expect, into the rotation. If it's not even if it's not obviously in the final, but as the season goes on and as his career goes along, you'd expect as a first round pick out of Houston. So again, Indiana's really young. I think this will be the first taste of winning that the Indiana Pacers are going to have, and I believe technically it was the first thing they've ever won in the NBA because they never won a championship in Indiana. So it'll be their first taste of quote unquote championship. And I'll be honest, it's more to come. It's just a taste of what's going to come with guys like Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. So I got the Pacers, you got the Lakers. And I want to end with this, Cage. Go ahead.
Well, I said I did have the Lakers. I'm just hoping I pull a Drake.
Well, you're 2 for 2. I'm 0 for 4. So right now you'd think I got the jinx. We'll see if you end up having the jinx in the final. If I can go 1 for 4, but pick the ultimate winner. So you know what? It all works. It all works. But I want to end with this. So we've talked about last episode, literally on Monday. So earlier this week, about Bronny James and him expecting to be back at like the end of the month into January. That is apparently become a lie already, because he is expected to make his collegiate debut on Sunday when the USC Trojans, if I quickly look for the team name, I do know the name of the team they're playing. I'm trying to make sure I don't mess it up, against Long Beach State on Sunday. The Trojans take on Long Beach State this Sunday, and he is expected to make an appearance, but he'll obviously be under a minutes restriction. So we don't know how much Bronny James is going to play, and it sounds like he's going to come off the bench, the freshman, but he will get his first taste of college basketball. And there's one major thing I want to mention there with that, Cage. So Bronny James expected, and I'll say, is going to make his collegiate debut on Sunday. The NBA has a day off on Sunday. It's the day after the in-season tournament final. So the entire league's got the day off. So LeBron doesn't miss any games for the Lakers, and he gets to see his son play his first game. You couldn't have wrote it any better for LeBron, for the Lakers, and even for Bronny. not having all that circus around him of his dad skipping a Lakers game. Because that would add more pressure to it. That would create a bigger whirlpool if LeBron did skip a Lakers game to go see his son play his first game, which, most dads would, but most dads aren't LeBron James. Most dads don't have God knows how many Instagram followers and Twitter followers or X followers, whatever the hell you want to call it, whatever social media you want to pick. Nobody really has a dad with that popular, that recognizable, like Bronny James does. So I think that's the perfect situation for both Bronny, the Lakers, and LeBron. Is him to make his debut on Sunday with everyone having the day off in the NBA.
Literally the best case scenario.
You couldn't have drawn it up better, could you, Cage? Couldn't have drawn it up better.
Couldn't have drawn it up any better, Spence. And just happy that he's back. Just happy that he's back. I know he's gonna play under like a minutes restriction off the bench, but to see him play basketball after what had happened over the offseason when he suffered cardiac arrest. Because when that first happened, we both thought, I'm like, is basketball even an option for him? Should basketball even be an option for him? Not only is he recovered, but is going to make his debut for USC and is on the path to recovery and is playing competitive basketball at a D1 stage. Yeah, we happy for the kid. I know the circus is about to be is going to be around LeBron attending his son's game. Nah, this is about Bronny, and to celebrate him coming from he's come a long way, and it's to celebrate that because Spence, I gotta say this life's short. Life's short. You can't take a lot of things for granted, and this could have gone so much worse for Bronny. So to see him on a basketball court, if it is on Sunday against Long Beach State, man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, and I can't wait to see him rocking it out for the Trojans and balling out and just balling and just playing the game that he loves.
The game that's in his blood, if you will. Again, USC take on Long Beach State, the 49ers. Ironically, it's my favorite football team is the San Francisco 49ers. So adding more teams with that name in the California area. Obviously, Long Beach are from Long Beach, California. But the game is at USC in Los Angeles. So it is technically a home game for USC, which I think will add to it. It's a 4 p.m. game, so it's a midday game on Sunday. So I expect a lot of eyes are going to be on the game. And again, it's just expected. LeBron may not even play, but he was dressed in USC's most recent game. He didn't play, obviously, but he dressed. He was in warm-ups, to kind of ramp up, you'd say. But it sounds like he's going to make his appearance on Sunday. That's the expectation. So we'll see if he does make an appearance in Sunday's game against Long Beach State at home. And if he does, / when he does make his debut for USC, it's going to be a massive moment, not only for LeBron, obviously, not only for the school with all the popularity it'll bring, but also, as you mentioned, Kate, for Bronny James being able to come back from cardiac arrest, being able to come back from what could have been a career-ending injury or career-ending event to now being back on the floor, back doing what he enjoys, and joining a team that should be really good, will be a pretty good team. I'm not sure what the ceiling is for the Trojans this year with Isaiah Collier, the number 1 recruit in the nation, Bronny James, who was the 20th recruit in the same class as Collier, Boogie Ellis, who's really good. I don't know what the cap is for this team, but the Trojans are going to be a good team. They're going to be in contention for the Pac-12 championship in its last year of being the Pac-12 before all the teams split off as a chance at the tournament. I'm not saying they're going to win the NCAA tournament because, again, no one picks the right winner at the NCAA tournament, March Madness. But USC is going to be a good team, and they're only going to get better with Bronny James being on the floor. And again, Cage, as you mentioned, we cannot state how amazing it is that he will be back on the floor. If it's not Sunday, when he is. It'll be amazing when he's back on the floor.
And even then, it wasn't even a career injury. It could have been life ending. Heck, like he had to be resuscitated. It could have ended his life. But yet we might see him on the court, if not Sunday, then very soon. And that is a blessing in itself.
All eyes on Bronny James, the USC Trojans, on Sunday, December 10th, when Long Beach State make their way to Los Angeles. But from Ontario, here in Canada, how do we get here for us? For Kajan Thiruthanikasalam, I'm Spencer Byers. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Polar Opposites here on the Outraging.